Hello folks, I'm Alex, this is Alex Unabridged. Welcome or welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, a bit of a reading ramble for you today. This will cover the last 2.5 months, I think. I've been very quiet on here recently. Life got a bit busy and I've had various things pulling my focus behind the scene, and I just kind of got a bit overwhelmed, to be honest. And my hermit mode got activated, which means I kind of just withdraw from everything quite a bit. Plus, I feel like I have got into a bit of a booktube slump. Not a reading slump, my reading's fine, but a booktube slump. Yeah, booktube has started to feel a little bit too much like extra work, I think. And as such, when that happens, I tend to just shy away from doing anything and just, as I say, withdraw from things. Plus, my reading habits have changed quite a bit recently to accommodate the other stuff that I've got going on. So I think it's time for me to hit the reset button on what I do with the channel, how I do booktube, that kind of thing, so that I can keep the channel going, because I don't want to end up leaving booktube. I thought about it, but then I thought, no, I really don't want to. I want to try and find a way to kind of keep making videos, keep talking about books, and sort of remain part of the community as a booktuber, as somebody who makes videos. So that's what I want to talk about today, is what are we doing going forwards. And then also just catch you up a bit on what I've read over the last couple of months, and then just a little bit of an extra update on some stuff that I've acquired for the Alex Unabridged library over the last couple of months, and any other news really, anything else I've been up to, that kind of thing. So channel plans first then. What am I doing with this channel? Yeah, as I say, my reading is good at the moment, and that is because I have been mood reading. And that is how I want to keep going with my reading going forwards. That's been the best way for me to maintain my reading whilst I've been busy. Some of the life stuff that I've kind of got going on in the background has been kind of stressful, so I've wanted to use my reading as as a distraction and an escape from that kind of thing. So I found that if I've wanted to pick up something trashy and fun and silly and stuff, then that's what I pick up. That's what I'm going to go for. So I want to continue on in that kind of mode, basically. I've still got my projects on the go, like my science fiction project and my horror projects, but they are very much just for me at this stage. There is no schedule to them. I have a pool of books, which I know I really want to get to, but I will get to those when I'm in the mood for them. The main thing for me as a reader is that I don't have any kind of schedule, with the exception of buddy reads. I've come to really love buddy reads, and it is really good to have that tiny bit of structure to my reading as well. So I'm still definitely up for buddy reads if anybody fancies them, and I do have a few kind of in the diary, if you like, which I do really want to stick to. So if you are one of those people that has discussed buddy reads with me, then I'm still up for those for sure. If you are, I will take part in events if I fancy them. But again, I'm not gonna sort of go silly with them. I'm not gonna chase TBRs or prompts, things like that. I'm not gonna come up with like a big pile of possibilities for things. I'm just gonna keep things really relaxed. I'm just gonna have a look at the event, have a look at some of the prompts, and if there's something that I fancy that fits a prompt or what have you, then I will dig into the event. But I'm just gonna keep things, as I say, really chilled. What really matters to me in terms of with the channel is just having a space where I can just chat about the books that I've read. That's when I think about what is the prime focus for this channel, why do I want to get on camera and put myself out there on BookTube? It is just because I love reading and I want to chat about the things that I've read, and hopefully inspire other people to pick them up, or to chat with people who have also read them, who've had similar experience or completely different experience, etc. That's what really matters to me with it. So I am just going to strip everything back to the basics with the channel and make it all about that, just chatting about the things that I've read in a very chilled, informal way. So I'm going to commit to just one video per month, which will be at the end of each month. It'll come out on a Sunday because that's a good upload day for me. And it will be a big old reading ramble, essentially, to catch you up on what I've been reading. And, you know, and anything else I want to chat about, you know, like other hobbies as well, that especially those that are connected to reading, writing, etc. Because I do have other hobbies, and sometimes I do want to chat about those a little bit. It will still always primarily be about books, this channel, but there might be other little bits dropped in here and there. I am going to stop for now doing individual reviews of books, you know, my thoughts on books, because they just take too long to film and like to prep and film and edit and stuff. They definitely take the most amount of time and energy to sort out. So I just need to take a step back from those for the time being. They may come back in the future when I have a bit more space to do them, but for now they're on the back burner. Tag videos, I'm way behind on tag videos. My apologies to those folks who have tagged me in their versions, and I've just not got to them. I am still happy to be tagged. I do still like tag videos and I still watch tag videos, but I'm just going to have to be really selective about which ones I do, and that'll only be if I have time to literally kind of jump on and do them relatively soon after being tagged. Oh, hello Dee. Cat's here to say hello. Yeah, I don't want to just, you know, kind of leave them for, you know, weeks on end and then, you know, get around to them, you know, eons into the future. If I have time, you know, within a week of being tagged to do it, I will do it. Otherwise I'll have to miss out on that, but I will enjoy watching other folks instead. I will still, certainly between now and sort of the end of August, beginning of September, still be doing regular videos on Trash Tales, an anthology of trashy fiction, because of course we are coming up to the release date of that on the 1st of August, and I do have plenty of stuff that I do want to put out there on that, as will Ollie, I should think, as we get closer to release. So but that's a finite period of time. I can manage that. But yeah, other than that, if I find myself with time and the inclination to you know, jump on and film a short video on something else, then I will. I'm not just going to say, you know, sort of that it's one reading ramble a month and that's it. I'm not allowed to do anything else. If I have the time and the energy to do anything else, something that I, you know, really want to share or what have you, then I'll jump on and do something. But I can't commit to scheduling anything more than just like one good big chunky video each month. In terms of watching other folks' videos, just a note on that. I have been watching where I can. I tend to binge. Because I'm busy, I tend to save stuff up and then binge on a weekend or something. Which means I don't always get to folks' videos in a timely fashion in terms of, you know, when they come out. But I am watching. That is the main thing. I am still watching. I have been terrible at engaging though with people in the comments section, and I do want to get back into that. I do have, or have had, certainly when I'm in one of my hermity phases, a bit of commenting anxiety is what I'd call it, which is kind of, I overthink things. I overthink what I should be commenting. Am I writing something too long, too short, too involved, you know, too surface value, etc. And I get all anxious about what I'm putting, and then I end up just not putting anything, not commenting at all. My communication skills, for want of a better term, kind of go out the window when I'm in that kind of mood, that kind of frame of mind. But I want to, as I say, I want to get back into engaging with folks on their videos. So I am going to make an effort to comment more, so that people know that I am watching and I am enjoying their videos, because, you know, it does make a difference when somebody tells you that they've enjoyed what you've put out there. So there we go. That is the plan for now. A lot less videos from me, but just generally a lot more kind of chilled about the channel. I think I'd let it build up to something too much to manage once I got busy. So yeah, time to press that reset button and try a different tack for a bit. Okay, so wrapping up what I've read over the last 2.5 months. So the first one is quite an easy one. It was a DNF. That was Earth Abides. This was one of my science fiction project reads. This is apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic stuff. Just wasn't for me. I really detested the main character, and it's mainly him in it. And yeah, to the point where I was like, yeah, no, I'm done with you. I got probably just over a third of the way through it, third to half of the way through it. The other thing I noticed about it is that I think in a review I saw, somebody described it as a very pastoral apocalypse, and I think that's a great description, and that's what it is. But I think I realised that I like my apocalypses and my post-apocalyptic worlds to be a bit more horror-led. That's how I like my apocalypses. So yeah, it just wasn't for me. Just that. So I called it quits because I wasn't enjoying it, and I was kind of putting off reading it. So gonna stop when it gets like that. Okay, next up was Burnt Offerings by Robert Marasco. I've got a review out for this already, which I'll link to in the description. Great haunted house type story. Really good psychological horror. I gave this a 4-star rating. This is one where I think I don't see it talked about much, and I think it ought to be talked about more. To be honest, it's definitely up there with some of the other sort of horror classics from that era, and you know, sort of the 70s, late 70s, I think it was. Yeah, thoroughly recommend that one if you like a good slow burn, psychological haunted house type horror story. Next up was Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This was a buddy read with Lecton from Reading from the Depths. This was a 4.5 stars for me. Another cracking bit of science fiction from Adrian Tchaikovsky. Leans into the horror a little bit in places, quite a bit in places. Set on a very hostile moon where the two main human characters have been stranded after an accident in space. They are stranded there and have to find their way across this very large, very hostile, very dark moon to get to a point where they can, you know, hopefully get rescued. The character work was decent, not necessarily as well developed as in some of Tchaikovsky's other stuff, but the alien, the xenobiology and the xenopsychology, things like that in it, of the alien beings, entities, creatures, etc. on this moon was fantastic. And the overarching themes of, like, you know, humanity and misunderstanding, miscommunication, intelligence, and the evolution of intelligence, all the stuff that Tchaikovsky does super well in all of his books is all there evident, and it was a really interesting read and a great buddy read with Lecton. Okay, next up is Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. A strange one for me. I don't read many classics, and this was a bit of a random pick, really. I just fancied something completely different between my sort of horror and science fiction reads. And this one was on the Audible Plus catalogue. It was very short. It was only like 3.5 hours long, something like that. And it's read by Kenneth Branagh, so I thought that's what sold it, really, to be honest. I thought, yeah, Kenneth Branagh will know what he's doing, I should think, when it comes to narration, and he did. And yeah, this was an interesting read, very much of its time in terms of language, so a little uncomfortable in terms of you know, some of the colonial views and some, you know, racist language, But as I say, it's very much of its time, and so I can take that into account. But yeah, very interesting. Some beautifully dark prose in there as well. So yeah, very interesting experience and a nice palate cleanser. I gave it a 3.5 stars on Storygraph. Next up, something completely different again. Into some Warhammer 40k fiction. I've really got into Warhammer recently, especially the lore side of things, the universe, and the characters in it. And this book is the first in a series, the Eisenhorn series. The first one is called Xenos. And this follows Gregor Eisenhorn, who is an inquisitor for the Imperium of Man, a faction that is rather feared, and quite well, it's all quite nasty. I was going to say it's quite dark, but it's all quite dark. That's the whole point. It's grim dark. It's got great action in it. This Dan Abnett really kind of captures the feel of the world, how it all works, all that kind of stuff. Great action sequences, some really good humour to it as well. Even though it is dark, there is some good humour. It's not all doom and gloom. There's some sort of strange, sort of cosmic horror almost in it. It moves apace. It's quite a decent one, I think, for reasonably new folks to the Warhammer universe. I expect you probably get more out of it if you had a basic knowledge of the general factions and stuff, but it doesn't hold your hand, but it does allow you to get a handle on all the various things that it's talking about as it kind of moves through the plot. It does it quite organically in terms of how it explains the universe. It doesn't do any info dumping, which I really appreciate because that can affect the pacing of a story. And it's the Warhammer universe, Warhammer 40k. There is a ton of information online in wikis and things like that, YouTube videos, stuff like that. So you could go to those sort of sources if you wanted a little primer on some of the stuff that's in it. But highly entertaining, very enjoyable. Great narrator by Toby Longworth, with Toby Longworth, and I've got the second book in the series, so I'll be diving into that quite soon, I should think. Okay, next up is The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starlin. I've got a review out for this already. This was one of my science fiction project picks. This was a 2.5 star. I did not like it. If you want to know why, I'd say go check out my review. I'll just keep that very short and say disappointing, and very for me. Next up was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. This was a buddy read with the lovely Debs over at Rainer Read Stuff. Debs and I both had quite similar reactions to this. This was a 3.5 stars for me, and what I'd say, and I think Debs would say the same thing, is I would have liked more plot and less fish, please. Less lists of fish. I would like quality over quantity. I think that's what it was. There are several places, and it's quite a long book. There is a lot of listing of fish that they've seen that day, and it just got a bit too much. There are some great action sequences, with shark attacks and giant squid and that kind of thing as well. And those are the bits that were really enjoyable and that I really liked. But yeah, there was a lot of listing of fish. There was quite a lot of maths as well, which is not my strong point. Quite a lot of quite dry navigational stuff. So there were elements of it which were really quite dry, and they ended up kind of skim reading a bit. And then there were some some of the actiony bits or the exploration bits, the adventure bits. Were really good, and I really enjoyed them. So yeah, a bit of a tale of two halves, but overall really enjoyed it. Some great humour in there as well, and the main character, particularly Arano, was excellent. Nemo was disappointing. Not enough character work on Nemo, I think. I know he's meant to be mysterious and everything, but he was a bit too unknowable, to the point where some of his actions towards the end of the book just kind of come out of the blue and aren't believable because of the fact we've had nothing leading up to that to explain what might make him act in that manner. But still, as I say, still very enjoyable read, but just a little less fish, please. Next up is Hampton Heights by Dan Coys. Again, I've got a review out for this, which I'll link to in the description. So all I'll say for this is I flipping loved this. This is a 5-star read. If you're after a bit of sort of nostalgic, heartwarming, coming of age horror, quite gentle horror, fun horror, then this is a fantastic read. Yeah, fantastic. As I say, charming, thoroughly charming book, and a great surprise. So yeah, definitely recommend that. Okay, next up is Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. Yeah, I gave this a 4.5 stars on Storygraph. I really enjoyed this. This is a lot harder on science fiction than say Childhood's End, which I think is still my favourite of the Clarkes I've read so far. Rama is this kind of this object, this huge object, like planet-sized, moon-sized object that appears in space, and a crew is sent to board it, essentially, to figure out what it is, and they make their way inside this huge object, and it's about kind of what, you know, what they find, their expeditions inside Rama, and what they find, the world they find inside there, and how that world develops over quite a short period of time. And yeah, it's fascinating. The world building is just phenomenal. The sense of place, environment, that kind of thing. Clarke's writing is really it's really good and straightforward, even though there's some hard science fiction in there. It's like, it's always accessible, I find, with Clarke's writing style, and it's straightforward, but he does have a great sense of humor as well. It can be quite dry, and his writing style just has kind of a weight to it, kind of a gravitas to it that I really enjoy. He's a great storyteller, and yeah, I'm fascinated to find out kind of what happens next. So this is a series, so it kind of, the end was left a little bit, you know, there wasn't a cliffhanger, but there was plenty of questions. So yeah, definitely going to continue on with the Rama series and see where this goes, because it was a fascinating environment, fascinating world. Okay, then next up, back to some more Adrian Tchaikovsky, and that was with Spiderlight. So some fantasy by Tchaikovsky. This was another buddy read with Lecton. Yeah, this was cracking. This was quite a fast-paced fantasy story. Very short book. Lecton described it as kind of like a D&D campaign, you know, Dungeons and Dragons sort of campaign. And yeah, I definitely agree with that. In a good way. It's got kind of the sort of archetypal sort of stock characters that you'd expect, but then not really, because it's Tchaikovsky and he tends to subvert expectations or challenge kind of, preconceptions. But they're all recognizable characters generally, and it's kind of a recognizable world, even though it's his world. It's a fantasy world you would kind of recognize a lot of elements of. And it's, it's a band we follow a band of characters who are, of the light, and they are going to take on and try and defeat the Dark Lord. And so it's very much, you starts off with this kind of binary state of the light versus the dark. But as you go on, the characters' ideas of what it is to be of the light and what light characters are versus dark characters, etc., those ideas are challenged by Tchaikovsky. And so they are constantly having to rebalance their understanding of light and dark. Yeah, it's got great characters, ones you like, ones you love and ones you really don't like at all. even in this band of the good guys. And even in the dark characters, there are definitely ones that you can relate to, that have a lot more going for them than some of the lighter ones, should we say, or those fighting for the light. Just a really interesting, fun, fast-paced tale with some spidery stuff in it as well, which is always nice. I do like spiders, and obviously so does Adrian Tchaikovsky. And speaking of spiders and Adrian Tchaikovsky, the final book to tell you about is a reread of Children of Ruin, so the second in the Children of Time series. I reread this on holiday. I like to have a reread when I go on holiday because I don't always have the energy, the brain energy after I've had long days out and things, to focus on a new book. So I like to go for rereads because I can just chill out with them. And Lecton is reading his way through the Children of Time series at the moment for the first time. I've already read it. So I jumped on board and kind of read Children of Time as he was also reading it. So we could chat about it with it fresh in my mind. I definitely got, new things out of it this time. I understood more of some of the stuff that was a bit discombobulating for me in the first read, some stuff to do with kind of shared consciousness and things like that. That I definitely kind of got my head around that sort of thing a bit more. And it just reminded me of some of the really cracking sort of speculative science in terms of the evolution or advanced evolution of creatures that Tchaikovsky does so well. In this, it's octopuses rather than spiders, although the spiders are still in this book as characters. But this time it's octopuses and something else, other things as well. I love that stuff. That I think he just does that so brilliantly, and it was great to go back and reread that and get more out of it on a second read. So there you go. You are caught up on everything that I have read, or at least finished reading in the last couple of months. Currently, I am still making my way through The Stand by Stephen King. I'm just taking it really slow. I tend not to read it for a bit, and then I'll have a proper binge of several hours on it at once, and then I'll put it aside again. It's a reread, so I'll just take my time with it. It's a very, very chunky book. It'll be done when it's done. The one that I have on the go, which I am reading a bit more regularly, is The Secret of Crickley Hall by James Herbert. After reading Burnt Offerings, I've kind of been craving some haunted housey stuff. I want to try and increase my knowledge of haunted house horror, because it's a subgenre of horror that I really don't know well at all. So I had Secret of Crickley Hall in my library, so I thought I'd start listening to it. Really good, creepy, really creepy haunted house book. I think it was early 2000s it was written, and it kind of feels like it should be older in terms of some of its prose, some of the way that it's kind of written, but then there's references to like mobile phones and the internet, and I go, oh yeah, this was 2002 or something like that. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyable so far. Probably like a third to halfway through it, something like that at the moment. But yeah, really enjoying it at the moment. So that is everything that I have read and am reading. Obviously, I am not planning ahead in terms of TBRs and things like that. But I will say that I will be taking part in Joy Reading June. I saw the announcement for this on Jack's channel on Spread Book Joy. I know there are a couple of other hosts for this event as well, and I will link to everyone in the description, so go check out the event and the announcement videos. And this is, as it says on the tin, it is about joy reading for June. No prompts, no TBRs. It's just about, reading for joy, mood reading things that'll make you happy. And seeing as that I'm already in that kind of mode, then makes perfect sense for me to kind of just jump on board and do that event. So I am going to pick books that I think will bring me the most amount of joy. So that probably means some trash. That probably means a bit of Warhammer. That brings me a lot of joy at the moment. And it definitely means some more Adrian Tchaikovsky, because that man has given me nothing but joy since I started reading his books. But then also I might go back and reread some Becky Chambers. That's joyful. Things like that. I probably won't read Travis Baldwin, Legends and Lattes, because I have reread those several times recently. But yeah, even some kids' books, some comics, things like that. Nothing specific. I'll just see what takes my fancy throughout June. The only fixed thing that I've got in for June will be a buddy read with Lecton, which is The Case Against Satan by Ray Russell. So that's probably not the most joyful one. But that's one of my horror project books, and I definitely fancy doing that as a buddy read as well. That should be an interesting one, that one. Okay, so that's all of my reading, etc. Caught up on. So I will whip through my recent acquisitions. So first up, we've got some poetry. This is Patterflash by Adam Lowe. This is LGBT poetry. Adam Lowe, I've read a couple of bits of before. He's a Manchester-based poet. I think he was born in Leeds and lives in Manchester, so my neck of the woods. And he uses quite a lot of Polari in his poems, which was a gay street language, which kind of was used by gay men to kind of sort of, conceal what they were saying from prying ears, if you like. I find Polari absolutely fascinating. But yeah, it's in his poems that I've read using it. It's really interesting because it allows for a really interesting pattern of speech and delivery. And it's just really interesting language, the way that it sounds, the way that it even looks on the page. So yeah, I've read a few of these already. They are quite full on, but they are excellent. So yeah, I'll talk more about this when I've actually finished it. Next up, a couple of birthday gifts. It was my birthday mid-April, so I got a couple of books, of course. First one is this one, 14 Days, edited by Margaret Atwood and Douglas Preston. This was from my sister. I find this quite an interesting one because it is a collaborative novel. So this is what it says. 14 Days is an irresistibly propulsive novel with an unusual twist. Each character in this diverse, eccentric cast of neighbours has been secretly written by a different author. But yeah, I just thought that's quite an interesting idea. And in fact, it's edited by Margaret Atwood. I thought, well, she knows quality. So we'll give that a go. I just thought a very interesting concept. Then I got from my good buddy Troy one of his favourite books, which is The Man Who Fell in Love with the Moon. So some wonderfully gay fiction. And yeah, I heard Troy talk about this on BookTube back when he was making videos. It's probably a couple of years ago now, and really liked the sound of it and hadn't managed to pick it up. It'd been a bit difficult to find here, and so Troy said he wanted me to have a copy ready so that I could read it, and I very much appreciate that. So I will hopefully get to that over the summer, I think, whilst we're in sort of Pride seasons. And then finally, one that I bought when I was on holiday in Scotland, and I had to go for something, Scottish. So I went for some Nan Shepherd, selected prose and poetry. So this has got a novella in it, many pieces of non-fiction, and then some poetry. All the poems in her only volume of poetry in the Cairngorms, and then an extra 12 poems that were discovered after that, it says as well, recently discovered. And there's illustrations in here and stuff like that as well. And I love The Living Mountain by Nan Shepherd, brilliant piece of nature writing. And so I want to just, explore a bit more of her work. What else did she do? What else did she write? So I thought this is a lovely book, independent bookshop in Aberfeldy. And so yeah, bought that one. So that'll be a nice one to dip in and out of. So there we go, that's everything that I've bought or acquired in the last couple of months. Finally, to round off then, what else have I been up to? I have obviously been doing a lot of editing over the last couple of months, editing and typesetting for Trash Tales. A lot of my reading brain power, if you like, has been diverted to Trash Tales. I put up an update video a couple of weeks ago where I talked about the typesetting process. That is all now done. The proof files are with Ollie and Lecton. And so I can take a little break from my intensive reading of the stories for the moment. I will do another full-on intense read when we get to the proof print stage, when I have a copy in my hands to proof. I had my birthday in April, as you've seen from my couple of books that I got. I didn't do much other than go out for a lovely lunch with my wife to a local pub. And then I had a trip into town to spend some birthday vouchers on Warhammer miniatures. I've been getting properly into Warhammer through the books, the lore, and I've really, really started getting into painting the models. So I got kits with some vouchers. I got some, generous amount of vouchers from my in-laws. Thank you very much to them. And some more kits from my wife, plus a ton of painting equipment like paints, glues, hobby lamp, that kind of thing. So I've been building and painting models whilst I've been listening to audiobooks. It's my new favourite thing to do while I listen, because it's really relaxing and I get into the flow with it and stuff like that. What else then? I went away on holiday, yes, for a couple of weeks. Mostly a holiday, although I did do a lot of work on Trash Tales whilst I was away. It was kind of a part holiday, part work trip. We went up to Scotland, as I said, to the Loch Lomond and Trossachs region. I will pop in some photos as I talk. We had 2 solid weeks of sunshine. There was not a drop of rain in sight, which was absolutely glorious. We had plenty of walks by lochs and in the woods. Neither me or my wife had energy for big mountain walks, plus it was kind of too hot for that amount of exertion, to be honest. But there were some brilliant low-level walks through valleys and stuff. So we didn't want for beautiful places to hike. We ate really well, including some absolutely amazing blondies from a local bakery. I managed one longer walk of about 14 miles on a section of the Rob Roy Way, where I came across the most joyous, trashy location I think I've ever come across. I saw a sign which just said "World Famous Shark Toilet." So my feelings generally on sharks. I'm not a fan of their visual appearance, but I had to check this out. I had to check it out. I needed photo evidence to send to my sister and to Troy, as I knew they'd both appreciate this. Now it's a shark restroom, I guess, rather than an actual shark toilet. The little toilet itself was just a standard one, but we call restrooms, toilets in the UK, so I won't split hairs. But it was possibly the most uncomfortable and unnerving restroom experience I've had. But yes, a trash fest. Yeah, absolute trash fest. But all in all, fabulous holiday. Not an area of Scotland we knew at all, and not where we're planning on moving. That's further northeast in the Cairngorms, but definitely somewhere that we'll go back to for holidays. But I think that's you caught up on everything that I've read and everything I've been up to, etc. Sorry for the length of this video today. I just wanted to get a proper catch-up done, and then hopefully, when I do my monthly wrap-ups, they'll be a bit shorter because I'm not trying to deal with 2.5 months worth of stuff in one go. Yeah, I will stop rambling there for now and say thank you very much for watching, folks, as always, especially if you're still with me right now. But yeah, drop your thoughts in the comments below. It's always lovely to hear from you. And I will be back with you in a month's time, if not before. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.